Do you want a minute? We don't have to talk about...
No, sorry, I just started thinking about...
For millions of people around the world, Matthew Perry will always be Chandler Bing, the funny man who could make an entire room laugh with one sarcastic comment. But for Jennifer Aniston, he was much more than a television co-star. He was a close friend, someone she laughed with, worked with, worried about, and never stopped caring for. Years after his heartbreaking death, Jennifer's words still carry a deep sadness that many people can feel. She has never spoken about him in a dramatic way or tried to create headlines. Instead, she speaks with the quiet honesty of someone who watched a person she loved fight a battle that seemed impossible to win. That is why her emotional reactions continue to touch fans everywhere. At the same time, the legal case surrounding Matthew Perry's final days has finally reached an important ending, giving the public a clearer picture of what happened. The court revealed details that shocked many people, showing how a trusted assistant and several others became part of a chain of decisions that ended the life of one of television's most loved stars. Yet this story is not only about a crime or a courtroom. It is about friendship, addiction, hope, and loss. It is about a man who spent decades trying to overcome his struggles while making millions of strangers smile every single week. It is also about the people who stood beside him, hoping that this time recovery would last forever. Behind the fame, the awards, and the unforgettable jokes was a real person fighting a painful battle. And Jennifer Aniston's memories remind us that even the brightest stars can carry invisible pain. Long before Matthew Perry became one of the biggest television stars in the world, he was simply a young boy searching for happiness and acceptance. Born in Massachusetts and raised partly in Canada after his parents separated, he grew up with dreams that would eventually lead him to Hollywood. Friends and family describe him as funny, clever, and full of energy, someone who naturally made people laugh. But beneath that charm was a young person who would discover alcohol at an early age and experience a feeling he later admitted he spent the rest of his life trying to find again. While other teenagers moved on from that first experience, Matthew believed he had found something that made life feel easier and quieter. Years later, he openly shared that addiction was never a choice he proudly made but a disease that slowly took control of his life. Even after becoming famous, earning millions of dollars, and being recognized across the world, that struggle never completely disappeared. During the years of filming Friends, audiences saw a confident and hilarious Chandler Bing delivering perfect jokes every week. What they did not see were the hospital visits, the recovery programs, and the private battles happening away from the cameras. Jennifer Aniston and the rest of the cast noticed the changes long before the public did. They saw the difficult days, the moments of hope, and the painful setbacks. Instead of turning away, they remained by his side, proving that real friendship continues even when someone is fighting their darkest moments. That support became one of the most important parts of Matthew Perry's life, even if it could not completely save him from the disease he faced. One of the most powerful moments Matthew Perry ever shared happened when he remembered Jennifer Aniston walking into his trailer and saying something nobody else had been brave enough to say. She quietly told him that she knew he had been drinking. Matthew later admitted that he thought he had hidden everything so well that no one could tell. When he asked how she knew, Jennifer answered with a single sentence that stayed with him forever: "We can smell it." It was not only Jennifer who had noticed. The entire cast had been worried, watching someone they loved slowly hurt himself while trying to find the right way to help. That conversation was not about blame or anger. It was about care, honesty, and friendship. Matthew later thanked Jennifer publicly, saying she reached out to him more than anyone else during his hardest years. He entered treatment many times, survived serious health problems, and continued trying to rebuild his life. He even wrote a deeply personal memoir where he openly described addiction, recovery, and hope, believing that if his story could save even one person, then sharing his pain would be worth it. Thousands of readers connected with his honesty, and many said his words encouraged them to seek help. Matthew wanted people to remember him not only as Chandler Bing but also as someone who tried to make a difference by speaking openly about addiction. Jennifer Aniston understood that wish better than anyone, which is why every time she remembers him, she speaks about his courage as much as his comedy, reminding the world that his greatest achievement may have been helping others feel less alone. As the months passed after Matthew Perry's death, millions of fans searched for answers. At first, many people believed it was simply another tragic celebrity loss, but investigators soon discovered that the story was far more complicated. What they uncovered was not one single mistake but a chain of decisions made by several people, each playing a role in the final chapter of Matthew's life. According to court records, Matthew had been receiving ketamine treatment legally for depression under medical supervision. However, As his need for the drug increased, he began looking for larger amounts than doctors were willing to provide. That decision opened the door for people who saw an opportunity instead of a person in need. Prosecutors describe how illegal supplies of ketamine were sold at prices far above their actual value, turning a vulnerable man into a source of easy money. The investigation revealed text messages, cash payments, and secret meetings that painted a disturbing picture of greed and carelessness. The most shocking detail involved Matthew's longtime personal assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, a man who had known him for decades and whom the family trusted to help protect him. Instead, investigators said he gave Matthew injections that he was not qualified to administer and continued doing so even after warning signs appeared. On the day Matthew died, prosecutors stated that he received multiple injections before entering the hot tub where he was later found unresponsive. For fans around the world, these details were heartbreaking because they transformed a private struggle into a public tragedy involving trust, addiction, and poor choices. The courtroom became a place where those final moments were examined piece by piece, giving Matthew's family and friends answers they had waited a long time to hear, even if those answers could never erase the pain. While the legal process moved forward, Jennifer Aniston and the rest of the Friends cast remained mostly silent, choosing to grieve privately instead of speaking constantly in public. Their first joint statement was short but powerful, saying they were more than castmates and had become a family over 10 years of working together. Those words carried extra meaning because viewers had watched them grow up on screen, laughing together every week as if they were real friends sharing a New York apartment. Behind the cameras, many of those friendships were just as real. Jennifer's personal tribute showed that clearly. She remembered Matthew as Maddie, the nickname used by those closest to him, and shared memories that had nothing to do with television ratings or awards. She spoke about daily conversations, endless jokes, and the comfort of knowing he could always make her smile. She also revealed that the last message he sent her was full of warmth and happiness, making his sudden death even harder to understand. In later interviews, Jennifer explained that she wanted people to remember Matthew not only for making millions laugh but also for the courage he showed in speaking openly about addiction. She admired the honesty that filled his memoir and the hope he gave to people who were struggling with similar battles. Instead of pretending everything was perfect, Matthew had chosen to tell the truth, even when that truth was painful. Jennifer believed that honesty was one of his greatest gifts, and every time she speaks about him, she reminds fans that behind Chandler Bing was a kind, caring man who spent years trying to help others find recovery. Her words continue to resonate because they come from friendship rather than publicity, making them feel sincere and deeply human. When the final sentencing brought one of the last courtroom chapters to a close, many people expected to feel relief. Instead, the outcome left behind mixed emotions. Justice can explain what happened and hold people responsible, but it cannot bring back a loved one or erase years of suffering. Matthew Perry's mother shared a heartbreaking statement explaining that the family had trusted those around her son to support him in his fight against addiction. They believed he would be cared for, encouraged, and protected. Reading those words reminded many people that addiction affects not only the person living with it but also parents, friends, co-workers, and everyone who hopes each new day will be the beginning of recovery. Matthew himself often said that if people remembered anything about him, he hoped it would be his efforts to help others battling addiction. He wanted his story to encourage someone to ask for help before it was too late. In many ways, that wish has already become part of his legacy. Readers of his memoir, fans of his interviews, and people who followed his journey have shared stories about seeking treatment because of his honesty. Jennifer Aniston has also expressed a painful but understandable thought that many families experience after watching someone suffer for years. She admitted that part of her feels peace knowing Matthew is no longer in pain. It is a difficult sentence to hear, but it reflects the reality of loving someone through addiction, where hope and heartbreak often exist at the same time. Today, Matthew Perry is remembered as a brilliant actor, a gifted comedian, a loyal friend, and a man who never stopped trying to overcome his struggles. His story is a reminder to cherish the people we love, to take addiction seriously, and to understand that kindness, honesty, and support can change lives even when the ending is not the one anyone wished for. Even years after Matthew Perry's passing, his presence continues to be felt in a way that very few actors achieve. Every day, somewhere in the world, an episode of Friends is playing on a television, laptop, or phone, introducing a new generation to Chandler Bing's quick jokes and unforgettable expressions. People still laugh at his sarcastic comments without realizing that behind many of those scenes was a man quietly fighting one of the hardest battles of his life. That contrast is what makes Matthew's story so powerful. He had everything that many people dream of: success, fame, money, and millions of fans, but addiction does not care about popularity or achievement. It affects people from every background, and Matthew never tried to hide that truth once he decided to speak openly about it. Through interviews and his memoir, he shared painful memories that many celebrities would have kept secret forever. He talked about fear, loneliness, recovery, and relapse with a level of honesty that surprised even his biggest supporters. That honesty allowed people to see him not just as a famous actor but as a human being trying to survive one day at a time. Jennifer Aniston has often said that she hopes people remember Matthew for that courage as much as they remember him for his comedy. She knows that the jokes made audiences laugh for 30 minutes, but his willingness to tell the truth could help someone for a lifetime. It is a legacy that goes far beyond television ratings or award shows. It is the legacy of a man who turned his own pain into a message of hope, believing that if his story could save even one person, then every difficult memory would have been worth sharing. The friendship between Jennifer Aniston and Matthew Perry has also become one of the most talked about parts of his life because it shows what real support looks like. Their relationship was never built on publicity or headlines. It grew over 10 years of long filming days, shared meals, inside jokes, and countless moments that happened away from the cameras. When Jennifer noticed Matthew struggling, she did not walk away or pretend everything was fine. She chose the harder path of speaking honestly, even when that conversation was uncomfortable. Matthew later admitted that her words stayed with him because they came from love instead of judgment. Over the years, she continued checking on him, sending messages, and reminding him that he was never alone. After his passing, her emotional tribute touched millions of people because it felt deeply personal. She did not focus on his fame or his achievements. Instead, she remembered the friend who made her laugh every single day and the man she affectionately called Maddie. She shared his final text message and spoke about hearing his voice in her mind, imagining him delivering one more sarcastic joke. Those simple memories showed that grief is often found in ordinary moments rather than grand speeches. Fans around the world connected with her words because many had experienced similar feelings after losing someone they loved. Her honesty transformed a celebrity story into something universal, reminding everyone that friendship does not end when a person is gone. The memories remain, the laughter remains, and the love remains. That is why Jennifer's reflections continue to resonate with audiences, offering comfort to people who understand that the people we lose never completely disappear from our hearts. As the courtroom proceedings finally came to an end, one chapter of Matthew Perry's story closed, but another began. The legal system identified the people responsible for their actions and placed those decisions on the public record. Yet Matthew's true legacy will never be defined by the circumstances of his death. Instead, it will be remembered through the lives he touched, the laughter he created, and the conversations he started about addiction and recovery. Millions of fans continue to revisit his work, not only because it is funny but because it carries a sense of warmth and comfort that has lasted for decades. New viewers still discover Chandler Bing and quickly understand why he became one of television's most beloved characters. At the same time, readers continue picking up Matthew's memoir and finding strength in his openness. His story encourages people to ask for help, support their loved ones, and never underestimate the hidden struggles someone may be facing. Jennifer Aniston's simple words, "We miss him all the time," perfectly capture what many fans still feel today. Time may soften grief, but it does not erase the memories of someone who brought joy to so many lives. Matthew Perry once hoped that helping people with addiction would be the first thing remembered about him. Perhaps the most fitting tribute is that today he is remembered for both: the brilliant comedian who made the world laugh and the brave man who chose honesty over silence. His life reminds us that kindness matters, friendship matters, and reaching out to someone who is struggling can make a difference. And although his story ended far too soon, the hope he shared continues to inspire people every single day, ensuring that his impact will live on for generations to come. Before we begin, think about this for a moment. How many times have you watched an episode of Friends and laughed because of Chandler Bing's perfect timing, never imagining that behind those unforgettable jokes was a man fighting one of the most painful battles of his life? For millions of fans, Matthew Perry was the heart of the show, the friend who could turn an awkward moment into comedy with a single line. But away from the cameras, there was another story that very few people truly understood. Jennifer Aniston knew that story better than most. She didn't just work with Matthew for 10 years, she watched him struggle, supported him through difficult moments, and never stopped hoping he would find lasting peace. When she finally opened up about him, her words weren't filled with Hollywood drama or headlines. They came from the heart of someone who had spent years trying to help a friend she loved like family. Now, after the final courtroom verdict has revealed new details about Matthew Perry's last days, Many fans are asking the same questions. What really happened behind the closed doors of his home? Who was responsible for the decisions that led to his tragic death? And why do those closest to him say they had been mourning him long before they had to say goodbye? This is not just the story of a beloved television star. It is a story about friendship that never gave up, about addiction that refused to let go, and about a man who spent his final years trying to help others avoid the same pain he lived through every single day. It is also the story of Jennifer Aniston's unwavering support, the heartbreaking truth behind Matthew Perry's final chapter, and the legacy he hoped the world would never forget. As we uncover the events that changed everything, you may discover a side of Matthew Perry that is even more inspiring than the character who made millions laugh. His journey is filled with success, struggle, hope, setbacks, and incredible honest journey that continues to touch people around the world. So stay with us until the very end, because some of the most emotional moments and surprising revelations are still ahead. And when you've heard the full story, we'd love to know what you think. Do you believe Matthew Perry should be remembered first as the brilliant comedian who made the world laugh, or as the courageous man who openly shared his battle with addiction to help others? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Read every one of them. If this story moved you or helped you see Matthew Perry in a new light, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the stories behind the headlines.